When people think of kickers, they often think of choking at the end of the game. Most of the time, kickers are only talked about for their failures and how kicking really isn't that difficult. When kickers do well, they often do not get the recognition they deserve. But one man did. Mark Moseley, the only pure kicker in NFL history to win an MVP. Moseley was selected 346th overall in the 14th round of the 1970 NFL Draft by the Philadelphia Eagles. He was dropped by the Eagles in 1971 and signed by the Houston Oilers, only to be released again in 1972. He spent 2 years out of the NFL and moved back to Livingston, Texas, where he installed septic system for a living. During this period, he sent letters to 24 NFL teams and routinely practiced kicking with his wife. In 1974, the Washington Redskins gave him a chance and signed him as a free agent. But Moseley did not do that well. For the next 8 seasons from 1974 to 1981, Moseley only made more than 70% of his field goals once. Twice, he was below 60%. However, Moseley was still better than average with those statistics, which is why the Redskins held on to him. But that doesn't mean the Redskins weren't worried about it. Washington coach Joe Gibbs used an 11th round pick that offseason on University of Miami kicker Dan Miller and brought him into training camp for a competition with Moseley. In the current NFL, the average field goal percentage is 84%. It has been hovering around that mark for the past 10 years, but before that, it steadily increased. This makes Moseley's 1982 season one of the most remarkable anomalies in sports history. In the strike-short 1982 season that included only 9 games, Moseley made 21 out of 22 field goals for a then record 95.2 success rate. He started off the year by making 2 clutch kicks in the first 2 weeks to seal the Redskins' wins. Moseley barely edged Chargers quarterback Dan Fouts for the MVP, earning 35 votes to Fouts' 33. First, it's interesting to note that Moseley is not the first player to win an MVP while being a kicker. Lou Groza won it in 1954, but he also played offense and defensive tackle and even punted a little bit. Mark Moseley is the only pure kicker, and he is the reason why more kickers have won MVP than wide receiver. Another amazing fact about Moseley is that by 1982, he was the only kicker in the NFL that kicked the ball straight on. In the 1960s, every kicker started kicking soccer style for more power. Some believe this is one of the reasons that kickers became more accurate. Nevertheless, Moseley's straight-on kicking style limited his duties to only kicking field goals. He wouldn't handle kickoffs because he couldn't get that power. This leads to why some have argued that Moseley wasn't as valuable as advertised. After all, he didn't even attempt a field goal from beyond 50 yards, which inflated his accuracy stats. He also missed 3 extra points, ranking him 3rd lowest in the league for accuracy in that category. Furthermore, some say the Redskins won the Super Bowl in 1982, and Moseley was set up with easier opportunities due to the offense's success. Often, the Redskins were blowing teams out and Moseley didn't have any pressure riding on his kicks. He also missed 4 field goals in Washington's first 2 playoff games. But despite a 2-for-2 Super Bowl performance, people were still mad about the critical misses that could have lost them in those games. The next couple years, Moseley settled back down to his career average of 70%, and the Redskins let the fan favorite go in 1985 when his percentage dipped back into the 60s.
A small stint with the Browns ended his career in 1986.
While Moseley was an above-average kicker for his career, that 1982 season was something special. Kicking is such a mark of inconsistency, where one day a kicker could be perfect and the next not be able to make a single thing. For this reason, it goes forgotten that a kicker was once the most valuable player in the NFL.